Have you ever experienced rage so intense that if acted upon, you would have probably ended up in jail? Who out there hearing my voice right now has felt the cut of betrayal to the extent that you lost your faith? Hands up if you've ever felt so lost that you wonder, is all this really worth it? Do I even matter? Does anyone even see me or hear me? Am I invisible? If you answered yes to even one of these, then you have fallen victim to sin. No, not sin in the biblical sense, but an acronym, SIN, self-inflicted nonsense. Speaking of nonsense, we even blame time for our inability to heal. What if every time you pointed the finger of blame, those three fingers of accountability pointing back were saying, forgive, F off? Just kidding. But seriously, what if those three fingers were saying, forgive, have faith, and find purpose? In the moments to come, I'm going to reveal the power you already have within to break free from self-inflicted nonsense. And the one thing you can do today to get over it and live. But let's talk about blame. Has time ever let you down? Maybe you had a throbbing pain in your body. Oh, this sucks. But you brushed it off saying, I'll get better in time. I mean, they say time heals all wounds, right? It's like you give time the power of attorney over your healing. But over time, the pain intensifies to the point where you can't even escape it in your sleep. Yet you refuse to go to the hospital. You refuse to seek out help. I ask again, has time ever let you down? Maybe you've been stuck on the side of the road for hours, feels like an eternity. And finally, someone stops to help you and you say, no, thanks. I'd rather stay stuck. Has time ever let you down? Okay, this is morbid, but imagine you fell off the side of a boat and you decide to not grab hold of the life preserver being hurled through the air to save you despite being within seconds of going under. Of course, these are all ridiculous scenarios, because who in their right mind would stay in excruciating pain, knowing relief was minutes within reach? Or who would wait for seconds, minutes, hours, stifled, unable to move, only to turn down an opportunity to get unstuck? Who would refuse being rescued as it gets harder and harder to breathe and life itself seems to move in slow motion, almost like time slipping from one's grasp? And yet we do nothing. Did time let us down? Or when we needed it most, we turned our back on time because we simply refused to ask for help? I'm going to expose the nonsense. Many of us are emotionally asphyxiating ourselves, unable to make a move, sinking into a life where being numb is our only reprieve. An existence where we make time our savior, our hero, our liberator, while at the same time accusing time for not delivering us the life we desire. How many of you within earshot of my voice are in a marriage, a union of two souls till death do us part, yet you suffer alone despite having a partner? Regardless of having your soulmate lying next to you in bed, you feel the cutting agony of abandonment. But you remember that trust you've put in time, and you reassure yourself that amidst this torture, in time, things will get better. But what about you, Ms. Divorcee? In the face of time to move on with my life, you find yourself immobilized with grief. Even though you consume yourself with work and you keep yourself busy, doing, and you soon realize you're going nowhere. To the world, you seem like you have it all together. You got a good job. And maybe you're a successful entrepreneur, well-versed, and yet no one understands why you look so mad, detached, and almost anesthetized to everyday life. You cry yourself to sleep saying, it takes time to heal. You wake up, you delicately cover your swollen, fatigued eyes with your mask, makeup, and you medicate the migraines, the fibromyalgia, the IBS. It's a smorgasbord of despair. You pick your favorite ailment. Before you know it, 3 years have passed and you have dug yourself a grave filled with depression, anxiety, fatigue, ulcers, hatred, resentment, envy, and other trinkets that you've collected while waiting for time to rescue you. But what if we got it backwards? What if time is not the rescuer, but simply a precious commodity that once gifted to us, we never get it back? A precious commodity. What if you were the hero and your ability to ask for help was the rescuer, and your forgiveness, faith, and finding of your purpose were the liberators? I remember sitting at my desk. I had my headset on, music blaring, because you see, all of my co-workers were talking about their plans for the weekend. What are you and your wife doing? Well, my husband's taking me here. Oh, and next month we're going on this great vacation. My husband, my spouse, my wife, blah, blah, blah. It took every fragment of my strength I had left in me to not shove everything off of my desk and storm out of the room, screaming, shut the hell up. I don't want to hear about your plans together, your weekend frolicking. I don't care about your happy ending because mine was taken. You see, I was sitting there and no one knew I was going through a divorce. I was embarrassed. 26 years with the same person, child about to graduate from high school. This was the time that everybody talks about. You're supposed to rekindle the marriage and the romance and travel the world together. Where was my happy ending after all this time? Get out, I said with a guttural whisper. It hurt like I was punching myself in the stomach. Little did I know this was just the beginning of the excruciating pain. But I want to tell you something that I haven't shared openly. You see, when I made the decision that enough is enough, as the words were coming out of my mouth, I wanted a different outcome. I was hoping there was something magical he could say that would cure the pain. I knew of stories where people had gone through separation and in time things worked out. They lived happily ever after. Doesn't absence make the heart grow fonder? Once you separate, you both realize how much you love and need each other. But it didn't play out like that. How many of you get what I'm putting down? We shout an ultimatum, sincerely hoping that will free us from our despair. And then we feel like a jackass when our demand is acted upon. As time went by, I cried myself to sleep every single night for months, and I'm not a crier. Is this what separation is? I'll just give it more time. The nights by myself went on and on with me thinking, did I do the right thing? And so begins this boxing match between your old life and the fear of the unknown on your own. The extreme loneliness is just destroying me. Left blow. Maybe it wasn't so bad after all. At least we were all in the same house. Right blow. But do you deserve to be in emotional pain, stuck, feeling like you're going under? Left blow. But maybe you could just have stayed a little bit longer, and then a right blow. But do you remember how you felt? I mean, at least now, even with the pain, there is some semblance of peace. Then That sunny Saturday afternoon, I remember it like yesterday. Time to check the mail. I walked down the driveway, pulled the flap down, and was so curious about this huge envelope that I could barely even remove it from the mailbox. I couldn't wait 15 seconds until I got back in the house. I had to see what was in this crisp white envelope. As I opened the envelope, started to pull out the contents, my eyes caught the format. Big black letters, formal looking. My stomach felt like I had been punched directly in it. I knew this was bad. As I quickly scanned the words, court jumped off the page, then defendant. My legs started to give out from under me. I was holding divorce papers. I had been served. I think back, and it was like the divorce papers were the referee, the black and white. I'd already been on the ropes trying to regain my footing. But as I read the details, it felt like the ground had opened up to swallow me. Down for the count. The ref calls out TKO. And yet there really was no winner. And so began being pulled back and forth to court. I felt like a chew toy with fierce teeth digging deep into my soul, being yanked back and forth. Is he gonna get half? He's not gonna get half. I began to panic. You see, our state believes in half, period. But the day after what would have been our 20th wedding anniversary, the court finalized the divorce, and half of my retirement of over 25 years was gone within 30 seconds. Was this really happening? And when I tell you a rage consumed me like nothing I had ever felt, I said to him, you are going to rot in hell. And a violence took over me that if I had acted upon it, I would have definitely gone to jail. But instead, I found an empty hallway in the courthouse. Just as the tears gushed from my eyes, I was numb. Eventually, I stopped crying, put my mask back on, and then I headed back to the one constant in my life, my job. Still refusing to let anyone know that my insides felt like I had been stabbed over and over while at the same time being doused with alcohol. Have you ever had a cut under your nail? I mean, a bad one that even the slightest thing touching the tip of your finger is enough to send you cussing? Now imagine the nail being ripped off and you stick your finger in a cup of isopropyl alcohol. I wore my mask well. Show of hands. Ever feel like you're crumbling on the inside, but you keep just going through the motions? I felt like the Walking Dead, emotionless, yet simultaneously consumed with every negative emotion known to man. I describe it like the day before going to a funeral. There's sadness, there's resentment, there's anger, there's fear, there's doubt, yet you're numb. But I bought into the time hero and isolated myself for 2 years. The paradox of being taken over by the perfect storm of emotions, all while pretending to have it all under control. Now what? So I joined the online world. I needed a side hustle. I was prepared to do whatever it took to succeed. Until one Friday night that is etched in my memory forever. One I'll never forget. I was sitting all alone, picturing all the couples on dates, at the movies, dining and dancing. And there I sat, pitiful me. And I started thinking about my daughter. She's pretty independent. She can stand on her own 2 feet. Does she really even need? And as those sentences were forming, because I didn't fully get them out, but I knew what train that thought had jumped on. And its destination was a place no one should visit. That's when I knew it was time to ask for help. And I went to a counselor, but I quickly grew tired of reliving my pain. I wanted to know, was there ever going to be a happy ending? So I kept busy, doing, getting my hustle on, but going nowhere. I decided to hire a coach just to help me get organized with my business efforts. And so this is the second time I asked for help. One evening, as my coach was in the midst of showing me Trello, she asked me out of the blue, "Where's your faith?" Time stopped, or so it seemed. But before I realized it, a waterfall was flowing down my face. You know, I had been crying myself to sleep every night for months, but this cry was different, because this cry came from a dark crevice, a place I didn't even know existed. Where's my faith? The one thing I had been known for. But as I think back, that release of tears was like a dam breaking, and a little tiny scratch was made on the wall around my hardened heart. I kept doing things to try and find a way to love my life again. I decided to attend the breakthrough experience with the legendary Dr. John Demartini. I thought about it as a chance to feel good again. But sometimes what we want is not what we actually need. They say forgiveness is for you, not the other person, which is true. But when Dr. Demartini looked me in the eyes and said, "You're just as responsible for the way things turned out," I'm not going to go into details here, but I'll tell you this. I thought, who are you to tell me such BS? You don't know what I've been through and endured. But once I stopped letting my ego dictate my understanding, I saw for the first time the role I had played from day one. True forgiveness was unearthed. Forgiveness with no conditions, no strings. The kind of forgiveness that obliterates triggers. You know what I'm talking about. You see, asking for help, taking full responsibility for our choices, and the way that we respond to what's going on around us are key components to our healing. The power of forgiveness is only limited by those who have not fully experienced its freedom. Now the scratch had become a crack in the wall around my heart. I was beginning to come to life more and more. I was realizing that by asking for help and taking action on what I needed to hear, by answering the hard questions and getting out of my own way, I was beginning to feel again. So I decided to hire a different kind of a coach. Now, I had no idea at the time that this decision was going to propel me onto a life-changing trajectory. He would mention here and there, have you ever considered being a divorce coach and helping women that are stuck and struggling and don't know which way to turn? I didn't hear him. I'd hired him to help me with business. My ears were plugged because I was just worried about surviving, and I could care less about helping others. I wanted my life back. Little did I know then, but the seeds were being planted by my coach to thrive, not just survive. You see, when you stop the self-inflicted nonsense, when you truly listen to what is being said to you, when you have the guts to get out of your comfort zone, when you face your demons and dare to be the change you want to see in the world, thank you, Gandhi, the wall around your heart will begin to crumble. I found my faith. Pieces of the wall fell to the ground. You guys know I love acronyms. I'm friends with my out husband, O-U-T, once upon a time. I don't like the phrase X. I wish him the best, and this is huge for our daughter too. I bathed in the gratitude of forgiving him and myself. I found forgiveness. Now there's huge holes in that wall. I found my purpose. The wall was shattered. The heart that was once in the dark began shining. Kind of like the Grinch whose heart grew 3 sizes that day. When the wall around your heart is annihilated because of the learning and growing you have done, that, my friends, is when you really start living. I'm not blowing smoke when I say I am thankful for it all. Today, I am serving women by showing them the power in simply asking for help. It is time to love your life again. There's a magnificent life on the other side of divorce. It is time to set some goals, like get over it and live. One more acronym for the road. Maybe you're in a situation, a boxing match is going on, and you've made the decision to go on with your life, but you're on the verge of second guessing the whole grass is greener thing. Or maybe you're still with someone and you're going through the battle of, do I leave or do I stay? Right punch, left blow to the gut. When are you going to stop beating yourself up? When are you going to realize that you deserve happiness? You can choose to go it alone, refuse help. You can choose to stay suffering by yourself, quiet, isolated like a ghost in a haunted house, all alone by itself, just sitting there, waiting for time to fix everything. You see, no matter if you're in a disintegrating marriage or you're divorced, there's this block, there's this force, there's this wall. It keeps people stuck. It keeps them in denial and it keeps them suffering alone. But what if you just raise your hand and ask for help? What if you stop allowing divorce or a failed relationship to define your destiny? What could you do today? What decision could you make right now to give yourself permission to love your life on purpose? I'll leave you with this. Ask yourself honestly, has time really let you down?